Happy Monday, guys. Reading class today. We need our short reads out, your reading writing workshop. It's Monday the 14th. Our new story topic launch is To the Rescue. And if you look really carefully, it looks like the paper is kind of burning, kind of a neat thing they did there. If you look close, paper's burning, you got a helicopter, and it's not dropping water. Now, right now, we got all these wildfires going on out in California and Washington and Oregon. Out on the West Coast, there's wildfires. I'm making this video on a day when it's raining. I know it might not be raining on Monday, but I'm actually making this video on Thursday, the week before. It's been raining for 3 days straight here. You wish that some of that rain would go out there, but we got all sorts of natural disasters that happen in our country and in our world. Wildfires, as you see here, is one of those. The helicopter's got a rope down. Maybe they're trying to save somebody. Well, let's launch it. I'm on page 47. Our essential question for the day is, how do people respond to natural disasters? When we have a hurricane, or an earthquake, or a tornado, or a forest fire. Natural disasters are events such as hurricanes, earthquakes, floods, and forest fires. When these kinds of events occur, it can cause huge crises in communities. Luckily, there are people who are trained to respond to natural disasters. How might people respond to a forest fire? Well, in California right now, they're doing evacuations. Get out of your homes. The forest fire is burning your way. And a lot of times we see little fires, and little fires you can put out. But forest fires are huge, and trees are so tall that the flames get high in the air. And a lot of time in the West, there's this big wind, and the wind actually makes the fire spread faster than the firefighters can put it out. So evacuations is a good idea. What else might people do if there was a forest fire? Hopefully you came up with a few ideas. Number 2 there. How do you think people are rescued during a flood? Maybe you've ever seen on the news where they have these rescue boats, these rafts with these motors, and they drive around to people's house, and sometimes the flooding is so bad that people get up on the roof of their house, and then the boats get by and pick them up. Sometimes you see helicopters, like you see in this picture, with ropes that lower people down to help the rescuers pick up people and take them back to the helicopters. And the last one there, what are some ways that people might respond during other kinds of natural disasters? Well, if you ever hear the tornado sirens go off, which doesn't happen much in Milwaukee, but if it did, boy, to the basement we would go, right? And if you ever have been in a hurricane like down south, they might evacuate you, you might board up your houses, you might get all sorts of bottled water ready because if a hurricane comes, you might not be able to use the water. You might get a generator that would produce power in case the power lines are down. All sorts of precautions that you would do if you knew a hurricane was coming. Let's take a look at our vocabulary. If you turn the page 48 and 49 have our vocabulary. Alter. The ocean waves slowly alter the shoreline by carving away the rocks. That's called erosion. We're going to study that later in the year in science. Alter. These rocks here that are getting altered, they're not going to look the same next year as this year. The water constantly washing it over, going to change it. And that's what alter means. It means to make different or to change. Your appearance would alter over the year. If we would measure you when we got to 4th grade, you might be a certain height. Right? And by the end of the year, you are going to have grown to a different height. Your appearance is going to change. Your muscles might start out at a certain diameter, and they might get bigger by the end of the year. And so you will alter too. This week, when we're talking about these natural disasters, we're talking about landforms altering. 2, collapse. Floodwaters cause the bridge to collapse. Here's my picture of it. This oftentimes happens when there's so much flood water that our roads or our bridges could fall. And collapse means to fall down or to cave in. If you were in a cave and it collapsed, that would mean it would cave in on you. Collapse. Number 3, crisis. There's the raft that I was talking about. The rescuers are saving those people from the flood waters with that raft. Rescue workers help people during an emergency or a crisis such as a flood. Notice that the word emergency comes by the word or, which means those 2 words are synonyms. Now, I know that you were studying in English with Miss Mackey, synonyms and antonyms last week. Synonyms help us learn the definitions. And let's take a look at the definition. Crisis is a difficult or dangerous situation. Emergencies and crises are synonyms. A difficult or dangerous situation. Destruction. This one looks like the tornado took care of it. Look at those houses just completely destroyed. The tornado destroyed buildings and caused a lot of other destruction. The definition of destruction is great damage or ruin. Some houses, a tornado might just take off the roof or take off the shingles. Some houses completely knocked down. So some might be damaged and you can fix, or some might be completely ruined and destroyed. When I was a junior in college, there was a tornado in my town. I happened to be jogging in the state forest when the sirens went off. Of course, I didn't know that there was a storm coming, so I'm running as fast as I can home. By the time I got home, out of the woods, it had already passed. It kind of skipped over our town. It didn't destroy houses, but it ripped a lot of roofs off of these houses. A lot of damage was done. The craziest thing, as I was jogging out of the woods, jogging down the street back to the college that I went to, there were ducks on the street. Of course, I didn't know it, but the tornado had gone over a lake not too far, had sucked up the ducks, and as it kept spinning and went past my town, it actually had thrown the ducks out of the tornado, and there they were, dead on the street. Really super strange, but tornadoes are very powerful natural disasters. We got a hazard here. If you ever see this, don't drive through it. The water was a hazard to people driving on the street. The definition of hazard is something that can cause harm or damage. You see it ahead and you don't go through it. It could cause damage. We see some of these things on sometimes cleaners under our sinks at home. Hazardous. Don't drink this. Or in the hospital, they have little containers where they put the needles and it says hazardous on it. Don't go touching those needles. Severe. Severe weather can include very strong winds and heavy rains. Look at those trees. They're blowing sideways. You can tell how strong the wind is. Maybe a tornado or maybe a hurricane. Hazard. Severe is very harsh or serious. Two left. Substantial. Could you imagine that much snow on your roof? My goodness, I would not like to shovel that. We got a substantial amount of snow last night. I don't know if you guys noticed, but Denver got a whole foot of snow already in September. My goodness, would it be fun to be sledding right now. Substantial. The definition for substantial is of a great amount or size. Substantial. And the last one is unpredictable. The unpredictable weather turns suddenly from sun to rain. You can see the sunset in the background. Also, you see the storm clouds coming in that picture. It's unpredictable. And unpredictable is not able to tell beforehand. Tornadoes are pretty unpredictable, and so that's why they're very dangerous. They don't last very long, but they're unpredictable. Maybe there's going to be a tornado in this thunderstorm, maybe not. On the other hand, hurricanes are huge, and they're pretty predictable. We chart them, and we can see them are coming, and we can evacuate ahead of time. They're very, very dangerous storms, but at least they're a little bit predictable. All right, guys. Hopefully we got a good chance of checking out your vocabulary. We're going to have the short read on a second video, and then I'm going to help you with your worksheet.